Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Technology Show, where our experts translate geek into regular speak. How do you feel about mixed reality versus virtual reality? And what are your thoughts? Gadgets or games? And where exactly are you on the battlefield of Windows versus Apple? Stay tuned for our special geek guests. And now, it's over to our techsperts.
Hey, it's time for the Technology Show. Technology spelled tech, K-N-O-W, where we translate geek
into regular speak.
Every week. As always, Brett Levy and Aryeh Sternberg. And with us, Lucky, the Chinese Lucky bamboo plant. You'll see it on the pictures.
Oh,
he
yes.
or she, I'm not sure, is in studio.
This is a nice new addition to the studio.
So now our show is finally green, right?
Oh.
There we go.
Sweet.
Right. So, straight into it, man.
You gonna ask me what's going on?
What's going on? Oh, I haven't asked you what's going on.
Oh, man.
Well, look, the weather's so shit. You can't actually talk about the weather.
The weather's not awesome.
No, it's not.
I think we're going to have a lot to chat about a bit later. There's been a lot of tech activity in the last 7 to 10 days.
There is. Well, we don't have a guest this week. Unfortunately, he was seconded by his superior of the sort, the Dark Lord of... No, I'm just playing. He couldn't make it. Last minute emergencies. Hey, it's live radio, man. So that's what happens.
Yep.
App of the week. I have capitulated and given you this one, and I have to admit it's not bad. Tell us about the app of the week.
The app of the week this week is called Toontastic.
Toontastic.
And oddly enough, it's actually developed by Google.
Was that odd? I mean, in fact, we had Grasshopper, remember, a while ago? There was theirs as well.
It is.
They're making a play.
Interestingly, Google's been launching some interesting apps. I mean,
yep.
Okay, that would sound really... Of course, Google's launching interesting apps, but
Who's Google?
Stuff that's outside the realm. The reason why this is a bit outside the usual realm of Google apps is that it's actually fun. It's actually engaging.
It's actually... see the guys at Google now. Are you saying we're not fun? Actually, we're not. Their
really.
CEO is the most driest guy in the world.
Not really. Toontastic is a cartoon creator. You can basically choose characters that are built in and add them to different scenes that are pre-selected. You can have 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 different scenes. And you basically hit record your voice, and move the characters around on the screen. It will create a cartoon.
Can please do it for us? Do the sounds that you did the first time you showed me this app. You don't even have to make one. Just do that sound that you were doing.
No, we'll just...
Come on, man. Do it for us. So, while Aryeh is busy setting up Toontastic... Okay, no, you have to stop that now. So, the first time you showed me the app, you did that. You actually made the little cartoon and doody-doody-doo, look what's over here, and you were dragging your finger around the screen. I actually thought it was like a really bad joke of an app, but I have been playing with it. And I must say, I'm not a creative person.
Yep.
I cannot draw even a stick person.
Yep.
And yet this gives me an opportunity where I can create something that I can share.
Yep.
A little story. As you said at the beginning, you create a beginning, you create a middle, you create an end. The fact that it has the predetermined scenes also helps influence what I want to do. Like there was a space station, there was an Aztec temple or something, there was an underwater.
Yep.
So there was a classroom. So there's enough little scenes for you to create a cool little cartoon. I haven't tried, I don't know if you have, but I saw there was a chance here for you to actually create your own scene or bring your own picture in.
So I was playing around with it, and
of course you were.
To your point, the what's really special about it is that you can create content very quickly.
Yep.
I was looking at it to see if we could do some explainer videos of some of the work we do at Beyond Intent, and I came across it and said, actually, let's just start playing around. And that was, when I showed you what I had created.
Doody. We don't do that at Beyond Intent.
No,
we actually work.
Yeah. It took a few minutes, but when I started playing around to create something for my mother's birthday, which is on the 12th. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Benta.
On the 13th. And you actually draw. So you choose a background color, you choose objects, and you draw them coming in.
Okay, so let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I can't draw. Now, you've got a stylus on your phone, so you could actually draw on the phone.
Yeah.
Is it, when you say draw, do you need to actually be an artist, or it's just going to be another doodle that has a bit of motion in it?
Drag and drop shapes, objects, very simple. Yeah,
Okay.
simple stuff. So, but you do need to have some semblance of capability of like how you do stuff.
Right,
Sure.
so for Toontastic, if you're like me, and probably most people out there, it's just good fun. It's already got all the little bits and pieces that you could need, all the different characters. I must say the characters were cool. There were about 30 characters to choose from. A cowboy, like a monkey type dude. There were men, there were women, they were white, they were black, they were pink. I mean, it was just it's really a fun little tool.
Yeah.
If you and it doesn't take a lot of time. Within 5 minutes, you can have a working little cartoon that you can share. No one's ever shared one with me. What does it look like when you share it? Is it a web link? How do you see it, or does it export as an MP?
So what I did was I exported it, downloaded it, and then uploaded it to YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, typical Google, right?
Yeah.
Making you use another one of their platforms.
Yeah. But the really cool thing is that it's really meant for classroom use. It's meant for basic education. Look, if it was sold in the store, it'd be for ages, 3 to 11 probably.
No wonder you love it so much.
Right. What I found is that, going in and you're using the animation and the cartoon characters, I found myself doing sort of a Rick and Morty kind of a thing. And it's hard not to, because you got these little characters moving around. It's like, oh, I'm flying in the air.
I know where the doody comes from.
You
Good
can't
news,
not
man.
do it.
70 new episodes.
70 episodes. Thank you. Also, we're going to have to get in and review it. Not only is there VR accounting, which is made by the makers of Rick and Morty, but it's actually Rick and Morty's garage. We can go and play around
Oh, really?
in VR. Yeah.
Well, I'll leave that up to you to get us a review, man.
Coming in.
Right, so good news, iOS and Android. I have to give that to Google. That Google never ever looks at a platform, or rather, let me change that, doesn't favor their platform, which is Android.
Yeah.
Is it web-based? No. You have to do it on your phone.
You have to do it on your phone.
Yeah.
It is Chromebook based.
So you can do it on a Chromebook.
Yes.
Well,
And-
that's because it's running. That makes sense.
And the Chromebook experience is actually more detailed, more animated. So what you can create and what you can do in the Chrome side of things.
Well, it also gives you the mouse, right?
That's
so
right.
There's more accuracy.
That's right. And so
Okay.
they really are targeting that academic and education space.
Sounds good. Well, iOS and Android. And I was actually giving kudos to Google. I mean, the same as they gave me QR code scanning ability on my Chrome app on my iPhone that you didn't get on an Android phone. Out of 5 stars, 4 stars.
You get 4.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Right, Toontastic. It is that time.
No.
It is.
No way.
Shut the door.
Make it stop.
No, I can't. I can. See, I've even got an American accent now. I can't.
do it.
can't.
It's the A and B split test.
It is. Now, this week's one is one I'm surprised we haven't done before. We've talked about the hardware, we've talked about the software, but we've actually never started with the whole core of something that we really love, which is what virtual reality is all about, and all the confusion about virtual reality, and that is 3DOF or 6DOF.
And what does DOF stand for?
Degrees of freedom.
And why are we talking about degrees of freedom? It's not like you're chained. Or are you?
Well, you are. Well, look how clever you were there. Look how we built that up, man. That's awesome.
What's crazy about it is that when we're talking about degrees of freedom, it's really kind of how you can move around in the virtual space.
So let's rewind it even further.
Yeah.
Cool. 3 degrees of freedom and 6 degrees of freedom are the two main principles, or the principles that define a headset for virtual reality. So let's start with 3 degrees of freedom, because that's probably the most common experience that people have had in VR. Would you agree? I would say. I mean, it's
most likely,
most
sure.
available.
Sure.
Okay. So kick off 3 degrees of freedom for us.
If you've ever
and what it is.
Totally. If you've ever used what sort of became the most widely experienced introduction to VR, which was a Google Cardboard.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
3
I
degrees
agree.
of freedom. You put your phone into a piece of cardboard, which was then replaced by hardware, Projects
Gear.
like the Gear VR, Google
Zeiss,
Daydream,
Zeiss 1.
and the Zeiss 1, and most recently the Oculus Go. When you move your head left and right, you can look around you. When you look up and look down, you can see above you and below you. If you duck, your altitude does not change. If you walk forward or walk backward or move your position in the virtual reality does not change. So you are stuck as an observer in a single space.
That's a great explanation. Thank you. That really, no, I'm not being facetious.
Sure.
That actually is a great way. So basically what we're saying is it is virtual reality, because some people still argue, no, it's just a 360 video. It isn't. It is virtual reality, but it's not totally immersed because you cannot move within the realm or environment. And that brings us to 6 degrees of freedom. So because you explained the 3 degrees, so I'm going to let you continue off there and do the 6 degrees as well.
Sure. 6 degrees of freedom, to date, still requires a tether. Now the difference is, this is looking at the HTC Vive, PlayStation VR, Oculus Rift. You are able to, when you duck or you look underneath a table, you'll actually be able to change your altitude and you will get closer to the ground and look up and under an object. If you step forward, you will move forward in the virtual space. If you step backward, you step backward in the space. Now, in the 3 degrees of freedom, if you're riding in a car and the experience has motion in it, you can move, but you're
still fixed in that environment. You're a fixed point.
You're in a fixed point versus being able to move around in space. And the difference is among the 6 degrees of freedom or full VR experiences are how it tracks you.
Yeah.
So, the HTC Vive is arguably the best platform because it has a light tower which is using infrared light that actually is bouncing off of the controllers and the headset to track your position from a vertical, horizontal space.
Now, some might say we were bunking work or chucking a sickie on Friday afternoon, but it's definitely in the name of research. So everything you just said now is 100% true, but we got to experience something that's not even in Australia yet. 6 degrees of freedom, untethered.
Red Cartel.
Lyndon and Warren boys, thank you.
Fantastic job.
So we can't spill all the beans of what we did and what we saw, but basically, instead of having your wires attached to a computer, and the professional people, they rig them up into the sky and they run them over pulleys, so you don't really feel the wires, but you're locked into 3 square meters roughly. That seems to be the optimum area that most people will experience 6 degrees of freedom.
Yep.
And it's ironic we use the word freedom, right? Because you're tethered. We put backpacks on with the computer in the backpack and
Lightweight.
the wires.
That's right.
And they weren't heavy, huh?
No.
They really weren't heavy. And boy, did we walk. I mean, that area is how big? It's, at a guess,
it's at least
20 meters deep.
20 meters deep.
And
10 meters
10 wide?
across.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
And apparently, I mean, we can't see where we're walking. They told us afterwards. But we walked all over that room.
Yep.
And we didn't touch each other, and we were bumping into things. And Cam's looking at us, and he's salivating. You're on the list, mate. When this goes live, we'll take you.
It was incredible because we could see each other in the space.
Correct. Well, it looked like you need to take a dump. They got to get that right.
Okay, so
the height wasn't right on your set.
They do when you calibrate, right? You calibrate for height. You
No, they
calibrate
didn't
for all
calibrate the
these
heights
things.
there.
What's very interesting also when you get into some of the VR kind of group social experiences, and you can choose your avatar size. You can be, let's say, for example, a Godzilla, and you will look down on the people as if you are at Godzilla's height.
Yeah.
Now, this was a game, again, not revealing anything, but you are a human, and you are in a space as a human, and so if you were to go in and play, they would quickly calibrate your height. So
correct. No, I mean,
yeah.
I just that was funny for me because it looked like
the stumbly walk was hilarious.
that was funny.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to put it out there right now, Landon, Warren, when you are ready to announce that awesomeness that we experienced, please come on the Technology Show and come and tell us about it, and then we'll put the screenshots up in that. But what was so exciting for us is, and the reason we want to do the A and B, is if we just rewind it back to us normal mere mortals at the moment, I encourage everyone to have a form of VR headset. I've got a couple. I know you've got 3 or 4 different types. The decision comes very simply. If you're looking for an experience where you can watch some content, and I use the word watch because with 3 Degrees of Freedom, you're a participant. I mean, you're a spectator, not a participant. You're in it and you're seeing and you're looking around, but you're not really controlling where and how you move to a point.
To a point. I'm going to add in there, the majority of VR-powered roller coasters use Gear VRs.
Correct.
And
that's a great experience.
Right?
You can look around, you feel it, it's good.
Now you're in the experience, you're part of it. In some cases, you even have use of the controller, so you can actually shoot things or play games and have some semblance of interactivity.
That's only on Samsung and Daydream. Yep. The others don't. Cardboard and that doesn't.
Oculus Go does as well.
Yeah.
The new Go.
Do we want to bury Oculus Go now, the fact that they've gone from Rolls-Royce down to that space as opposed to getting the other stuff better?
So we'll go to Oculus Go in a bit.
Okay.
But if pre-Oculus Go, Gear VR, you can have, there are a couple experiences. There was a NASA experience. There was a couple of different experiences where they actually sync the headsets together and you could see 8 other people in the space.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, could you actually see them and they're moving their heads? No, but you did have that spatial awareness that where you were sitting in real life was as distant from them as you were in the immersive space. 6 Degrees of Freedom, we played that game with the 4 of us in it. Yep. And what's really interesting, we also played the bow and arrow game at Red Cartel as well, at Samosity. And you can see the other person. Yeah. And even though we were in both cases, we're 4 completely separate spaces, because you're in the virtual reality space, you actually feel like you are in the same space. Yeah. And the one we played with Rick and Raj.
That was at VR Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah. CBD or something. That was fantastic.
That was incredible because, within a couple of minutes, we were immersed. Yeah. And you're in it and you feel like it. And that's really, I think, where one of the biggest differences between 6 Degrees of Freedom and 3 Degrees of Freedom is when you are able to move around, when you have complete control of your environment, your brain begins thinking that you're there.
Well, we talk about you all the time in your tilt brush immersion. You disappear. You're gone and you're in and the music's going. But I think, everyone says you should crawl before you walk, before you run. My advice is buy a headset. They're $100, $150, maybe the top of the end, $300. It depends on the phone that you have. And, if you're rocking a Samsung or any of the other high-powered Androids and you go with a Gear or a Daydream.
So this is where Oculus Go comes in, $199 US.
So what's that, $300 roughly?
250, something like that. Yeah. No phone.
Of course, that's right. That's why they made the move into. Okay, I take it back. I'm not knocking them.
No wires,
no phone,
no tethers. Yeah. And it's running everything that's on Oculus. So it's already synced with anything you would use in Gear.
You're actually 100% right. That does make sense. I forgot that it's non-device. It's already got the screen built into it. Yeah. Because that's also, you got to put your phone in. If your phone rings, and it stops the experience. Yeah. But I still recommend people do it. And if they're not going to go and buy the Oculus, then get a Gear or get a Daydream. The Daydream's a great product. Comes with a remote control. Put your phone in. Even an iPhone will fit in there. Yep. So it's not only Android.
And that's where the Gear is different than the Daydream, because the Daydream you can use pretty much any
Correct.
Any
the
device.
Gear you have to use a Samsung.
That's right.
Once you've decided that VR is for you and you want to get into bigger and better, then you start looking at the Vives and the Sony PlayStations and that, and then start seeing the difference between the 3 and the 6 degrees. But as far as the A and B split goes, we're not comparing. There's definitely not a winner here. There's a progress and a journey. Quick fix, 3 degrees, put on a headset, bang, you're there, you're having some fun. If you've got an hour, then immerse. Go into a proper, decent rig. Yep. And when these backpacks come out, boy, do I want one. Can I have one, please?
Now, couple points to mention. Yes. On the Oculus Go, Gear VR, and Daydream, one of the benefits of the experience is that you can consume media. Whereas normally you're sitting there, you maybe have a 30-inch screen, you have a 50-inch screen, you get the equivalent of like an 80-inch screen in front of you. And if you're wearing decent headphones, you can have that full content cinematic. And so you can actually feel like you're sitting at Cinema Under the Stars, or you're in space watching a movie. But that immersion into that environment to enjoy that kind of content is there. There hasn't been any long-term studies done on the effect of having like the 4K screen 2 inches from your eyes.
The latest one that's resurfaced now is this whole Wi-Fi mobile signal cancer. The kids are using them at school and they're on their laps the whole time, and you know.
Yeah, that's
look, we're not going to escape it. The whole world is wired and meshed. So, you know, if we start growing extra arms or third eyes or second noses, it's just unlucky, man.
Now, the HTC Vive just launched the HTC Vive Pro.
Yeah.
Now, the Pro is, from my understanding, is like the connoisseur's hardware.
Yeah.
So it's basically using the same content, the same games, the same apps. It's just that much smoother, that much crisper.
That's processing
that
power
better.
as well. I mean, as tech gets better, then we see it.
And the other one we spoke about was the TP Cast solution, which is a third-party piece of kit that attaches to the HTC Vive, which allows you to go wireless.
Yes.
And now you still need the light domes, the light towers.
Yeah.
And so you're still restricted by the amount of space, but what they're working on is how do you extend that?
Well, that's where the mixed reality comes in. When you have the front cameras, HTC has to come up with that next. If they can perfect that.
And from our experience, the Samosity experience with the Red Cartel guys, that was using the top-end Windows VR experience, the Samsung
you had to
headsets.
go and ruin it.
And honestly, we both know that going into a Vive-based experience, it is crisper.
Yeah.
It is smoother. The animations are better. The
They are,
transitions
but you
are better.
don't get. I'll sacrifice that for that freedom that we had to run around without feeling a wire anyway.
No.
It was more real. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was more real because I didn't feel like I was being tethered to anything.
Yeah. Also, just
the spin around. When you spin around in a tethered rig, you feel your wires.
Yeah.
Here, I felt nothing. I think we're going to go straight into XR, man.
XR, extended reality.
Extended reality. So I actually have. Well, you might call me on this. You might actually say this isn't XR and this is maybe just more mobile. But let me tell you anyway. You've seen the Oppo phone, OPPO.
Sure.
Optus stocks it.
Oppo.
Yeah.
China.
So they've just demoed a live 3D call. This is why I'm calling it XR and not just mobile tech. So they did a live demo, a demo of a live 3D video call using 5G. So straight away 5G, you can't get it yet. This is obviously all test and people are testing all over, but 5G is going to revolutionize how we communicate. I mean, the speed, for those of you who can remember when we went from 3G to 4G, it was massive. From 4G to 5G is actually ridiculous. The speed benchmarks that they're doing is insane. And more importantly, the ability to send multiple packets of information across the same call. So at the moment, we either run an LTE for data or we do a phone call. And we've seen how that changes. 5G takes that out. It runs two different bands. It lets data go along, it lets voice go along, it lets pictures go along. It's awesome. Now, they partnered with Qualcomm. Now, given everything that's going on with ZTE being kicked out of the States and them being Chinese, I know they weren't necessarily involved in anything, but the way the embargoes are going at the moment, I wonder if Qualcomm is going to get into trouble for doing this. But the point is they actually demoed a proper 3D. You could see the depth of the phone call. So the person on the other side, it was as if they were looking at people, because that's always been the problem with video calling. It's a flat experience. You know, we're saying like you don't need to go to a boardroom anymore. You just do a WebEx. We do WebExes all the time. It's flat. There's no depth. There's no life to that picture. This uses the cameras like the iPhone does for that facial, and the new Samsungs. It does the 3D rendering of the face.
Connect style pickup.
And then delivers you a deeper experience. So
Yep.
you do feel like you're speaking to the person and looking at them. That was pretty cool. Hence, I'm calling it XR.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they build that tech into, and it will.
This is a real
Microsoft do
phone. This is an R11.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
So Microsoft, well, in the XR space, it's sort of XR space, but everyone who ever had an Xbox early on would have seen the rise and dramatic fall of the Xbox Kinect, right?
I missed the Kinect.
The Kinect is basically what's built into the iPhone 10. So I almost said X. Yeah, the notch. But up in that notch is two cameras, an infrared sensor, and
Yeah, you're right. They've definitely taken direction from there.
So the Kinect is coming back, but it's being used as a generic IoT sensor device for Azure. So Microsoft is saying, okay, we've already built this. Let's
integrate
slim it down, integrate it.
Yep.
Now, there's a new Surface device coming out. 52-inch flat screen TV style.
I saw that, the
This
Office
thing-
Pro that replaces your whiteboard and everything.
This thing looks pretty
I
slick. 'cause
actually saw that.
they had a first one, and then it was like sort of meh. But
Nah, I
this
saw
one
this.
looks slick.
This is
as.
basically what Surface was supposed to be when they did the table.
That's right.
And they've now stuck on the wall with that new round
And
dial thing. But
that's right.
they've explained it as a professional's board. It's
But
for
this is-
architects, for designers, and
This is like a full on like one of those smart boards.
Yeah.
But it's a proper
PC.
computer. And if you added that 3D, that Kinect style camera, you could possibly have that sort of experience because it's
You're right,
life size.
because it would actually it would actually take the depth of the room into consideration as
That's
well. So it would
right.
actually put everyone back. So then it is XR. It's still definitely.
It's still XR.
I
thought it
did
was
see that.
interesting.
I'd love to actually see. We must go past it. Is that out? Is it in the Microsoft Store yet, or is it concept?
I think it's worth going to have a look to see if it's in
If
there.
it's actually there, because that was an impressive piece of kit. That's a
awesome to
screens
see.
review.
Yeah, that
Definitely.
screams with you.
Do you want to do VR or AR first?
We did AR last week, so let's start with VR this week.
All right, what have you got on VR?
I'm going to start with VR horror.
Horror,
Yeah,
like as in scary
as
stuff.
in scary stuff.
Yeah,
so we've got. I think that one of the what drives any sort of new technology, porn.
Yeah, we know that.
Gambling, but the overall story of entertainment. And the more real it is, the more exciting, the more visceral the experience. And outside of actually feeling blood tossing, getting splashed on you, being thrust in the middle of hardcore horror.
I'm so glad you added the word horror after
Yes.
thrusting and hardcore.
No,
Thank you.
You know me, I would never go
Okay,
down that
so
route.
you've been thrusted
Yeah.
into a hardcore horror.
So you take the directorial capabilities of people like Alexander Aryeh.
I don't know who Alexandra Aryeh is.
He produced an anthology series called The Caretaker, which is
Yep.
apparently incredibly scary. He's produced a VR miniseries called Campfire Creepers. And this previewed at the Tribeca Film Festival a couple weeks ago, but that's available on Gear VR and Oculus. Now, that idea of having that 2D and that 3 degrees of freedom, 6 degrees of freedom. I don't know if you ever played that zombie shooter game where the zombies are coming after you in VR. It is scary as because you can't get away.
We did an AR. That was actually one of the apps of the week, wasn't it?
Yeah. But this is a.
I don't know if I've done the zombie shooter one.
I played this over at I think ZDNet or ZDNet. Yeah, but it's really scary. And when you start producing films where you are either just an observer and you can't get away from it in the center of
that's shitty, yeah.
or
Yeah,
if you're a participant, really scary, right?
Nice, I'll have a look for that.
There are so Aha is known for films that the Hills Have Eyes,
I know that.
High Tension, and Piranha 3D.
Okay, Piranha 3D was just crap.
Probably total crap.
No,
but the
just
Hills
crap.
Have Eyes, I've heard, is
That was
incredibly
that was
scary.
quite a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stay with scary then, seeing you've gone there. I think I pronounce it Hofstra University.
Okay.
I think it's an American university. Students there have created a VR experience that simulates a Category 3 hurricane. Now, thankfully, I've never experienced a hurricane or been on landfall where hurricanes have hit. But I have been on a cruise ship 2 years ago when the Fiji hurricane hit and we had to turn around. We were 800 kilometers away and the ship was like a little boat in a bathtub. We were really, really rocking. So I can only imagine what it must be like to be in a hurricane, a Category 3 hurricane. They've basically created a VR simulation. The idea is actually to educate you as to what you should or shouldn't do in a hurricane. Now, the obvious is run, like really fast.
Yeah.
But you don't always get that choice, right?
Outrun
So this
rain.
thing comes through and So it immerses you into it. Now, they don't drown you in water, and it's not a 4D experience like you get at Disneyland or Universal. But it must be quite real. I mean, if you had to put a headset on and hear the doors rattling and hear the wind blowing, I mean, what's a Category 3? Like 120, 140 kilometers per hour winds?
Yep.
And rains and things are ripping off everywhere. I suppose, why VR? Well, everywhere you look, you're going to see the cars lifting off the ground. And if it's in 6 degrees of freedom, and you could actually move outside of your house and watch stuff breaking.
Yeah.
I'm doing inverted commas in the air outside your house. But so I think it's quite a good use of VR. I'd like to see it. I'd like to play it. I don't know. It's built on Unity, so it's built with the gaming engine in mind. But yeah.
I'm going to follow that up. Same but different.
Same but different.
There's been a collaboration between a studio called Tomorrow Never Knows and ICANN, which is the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. And it's a
translating
project
geek into regular speak.
Yeah. Well, it's a project called The Day the World Changed, and basically it throws you into a post-nuclear apocalypse environment. And it's really just out there to get people questioning about, nuclear war, and these things.
Did you see screenshots? I mean, is it like this barren Mad Max movie?
I saw one. It looked, it's very moody. It's very somber. It's not like, it definitely paints a bleak picture.
Yeah.
So
there was a movie that I saw, I think it was called Chernobyl. It was also like a horror.
Yep.
And it was filmed in Chernobyl after that whole fallout thing. So they actually filmed it. It wasn't a set. It's real. And I must say, man, shit, you just got to look at that and think to yourself, time to move those red buttons away. I'm going to be a bit disturbing. So you heard of PETA, PETA, which is the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. Now, we were talking about this earlier, is that anytime someone posts on Facebook about animals being abused, or you kind of like scroll your finger up like quickly because you don't really want to look at it. We know it's there, but we don't want to see it.
I'm just going to set the scene. Brett was telling this as I had the lovely...
A little dog on your lap. I know that was maybe a little bit...
on my lap, and I was like, oh, hide your ears, dog.
Okay, but I think it's important though. So they've called the experience eye to eye. So it starts off where you engage... It's VR. So you engage with a virtual rabbit and you visit... I'm just picturing like Peter Rabbit or like the little rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. And you start off in a scene which is nice and serene. You're in a riverside, in the forest, and then you end up in a slaughterhouse. So it takes you through this whole journey of nature and the beauty of nature and animals and all these wonderful things. And then you see them coming to a really horrific end. I don't want to watch that. But I think it's important, though, that people like PETA do make this stuff. And it probably is important that we do see it. Unfortunately, when it's someone like PETA, it's probably quite extreme. Yeah. Probably quite graphic.
Yep.
Maybe we can find something that's maybe a bit more intermediary and maybe show that to children. And I don't want my son coming to the middle of the night saying he can't sleep because he's seeing guts and blood and stuff hanging out. But this shit does happen. We are cruel to animals. The human being is not a nice thing. So I'm going to give them the exposure. Good up to PETA for doing it. Maybe we can get a light version that we can share. But yeah, I'm a bit scared to watch how graphic it is. But it's called Eye to Eye.
Side note, there's a movie called Okja. It's OKJA on Netflix. Which OKJA. Yeah. And it tells a story about this mythical creature and how basically, it falls in his family and they love it, and then finally it goes and they see a slaughterhouse and see that these creatures are, actually being slaughtered and fed. A very, very good movie. I think critically acclaimed, but it's a similar kind of a thing where it takes it to that level. And you're you're watching, you're like, oh my, I can't believe.
But you can't unwatch that, right?
You can't unwatch it. Yeah. As you said, you can't unsee that. I'm going to go on the opposite side, which is... Yes, please do,
because it's a bit like bleak.
So Door Number 1 is the first VR comedy show. It's being launched by Hulu, and it will premiere on May 24th.
So Hulu's making a play into VR.
Hulu's making a play into VR.
I like that. But now do you need a Hulu account, or are they putting it up into Steam or any of the normal places that you would get stuff?
That's an excellent question. I don't know.
Because they can't stream VR. the servers just wouldn't handle it, and you don't know what the devices are.
No,
so it's got to go through.
It's going to be
somewhere.
a download. It's going to be a 360 download. I'm guessing that through Steam or through another service, you'll be able to download it and watch it, similar to
Like
the 360
WebVR or
content.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of 360 kind of proper content, like the guys
maybe
produce.
maybe like a YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
That
sounds cool.
It's worth a watch because it's written and directed by Nora Kirkpatrick of The Office.
Oh, okay.
So it should be some good comedy.
So now, why VR? Would you be able to sit then in the? You're watching from the audience.
I'm imagining
point of view.
You're probably sitting, and this brings up a question about of how to produce content in VR. But you're probably sitting in the middle of the action. Now the question is,
because generally comedy it's a dude or a dudette on a stage ripping people apart.
No, this is a show.
Oh, so it's actual proper show. It's not like stand-up comedy.
No. This is a
okay, I got you. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought like maybe like one of those Seek type things where you're sitting in live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is a show.
I got one more on VR.
Okay.
And this I actually found purely for you, being
okay.
the data punk that you are, and that was a compliment, not from your shirt, data punk.
Thank you.
Our friends at Lexa. Data View VR. Okay. So it's software. Data View is a software company. They've made a VR version where you can actually immerse and see data from the data's point of view. So you know how you go in and you do your tilt brush and you can see what you've created. Now all your bar graphs, your stats, your visuals, your numbers, you can actually go and be inside the data. So you can look around the globe of the data.
Yeah.
So maybe like the enormity of what a bar graph actually looks like, or I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I came across this. Basically, they've used Virtualytics and the mapping tool by Adobe. Their new one, it's called New View or something.
We spoke about Virtualytics
a couple of shows ago.
Yeah, a few months ago. Yeah.
Okay. A few months, couple of shows. Seems like yesterday. But that's what I'm saying. So they've used that, and they've actually immersed you into the data.
Interesting.
So look, this is for a data geek. Okay, this is not like you and I aren't going to download it and go and start immersing ourselves on a daily basis.
Totally.
But if you are a data scientist and you want to become in touch or work within the new world, why not?
My last VR news.
Yes.
We've mentioned it. We have yet to play it. It's now available. Beat Saber.
Oh, it's out.
It's out.
Have you bought it yet?
No.
Why not? It's not like you.
You kind of need to have a HTC Vive to play it.
Rick,
not
Uncle Rick, are you listening?
Gonna pick it up. Well, Mark's got a
Rick,
Vive Pro.
Roger,
now,
anyone?
This is an interesting app because I was listening to the Voices of VR podcast, and they were actually interviewing the two founders of it. First of all, that flow state, that whole sort of mindful being in the present, with Beat Saber, you become a ninja, and you're using swords to chop, basically beats, but you are moving around and flowing, and as you improve in your skills, how you move the sword in the arc, you need to continue and be continuous, as opposed to a punching.
You need to continue and be continuous.
Continue to be continuous.
Nice.
So you have to have continuous movement. So if you've ever seen some of those rave dancers of the old days, how they kind of like move their hands around, that flow kind of a thing. But
the young people know what flow is.
Totally. But you've got swords now.
Chop chop.
The game is produced by Hyperbolic Magnetism.
We've talked about when we talked about the game.
Before, totally.
Well, also a couple of shows back.
Now, the cool thing is they're allowing you to have a level editor, so you can create your own levels, and you can actually create your own beats and share them with friends. And so it's not just all the levels that they have. You can actually create your own and create a community kind of a thing. So if you're really into it, you can do it yourself.
But you also then change genres and that as well. So that's quite cool. Sounds like another real proper geek.
Change genders. I'm like, well, no, not really.
Genre, genre, not gender.
Yeah,
you can change gender.
Probably could.
Let's go into AR.
Okay.
Because
keep it on the short.
Before we run out of time.
Cool.
There's a new browser-based AR. Now, it's Google. They just had their I/O week. We're going to probably talk about some of the cool things like Google Duplex. But we've been talking about web-based VR and web-based AR for quite a long time, and that is the holy grail. Once we remove the app and we make AR Core and AR Kit do the work, then everyone and everything can be AR-centric. We can start to load and start moving towards extended reality and hyper reality. But they actually demonstrated this week. They've demonstrated browser-based AR. So I think they're calling it Web XR API. So it's an API that will work within Chrome. Basically, it's not in the future. Google says that the demo that they use for the conference, this I/O conference, will be available to developers in a few weeks' time, so they can start creating. So within weeks, we can start creating, well, not you and me, but people can start creating web-based AR. That's game-changing.
Well, along those lines in Google, and I think we can kind of, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of other AR news, but I think we can continue.
Well, voice is AR, so you can definitely, I know where you're going with this.
Well, no. Google Maps demoed an AR experience where two things happen. One is, how you're sitting there in Maps and you're walking, you're trying to find which direction to go, and sometimes you're looking for the arrow and you're turning around that little sort of
that little like
semicircle thing. It's not quite working. This one
still
will
better than Apple Maps. Sorry.
This will place an arrow in the direction you're supposed to go.
Oh,
and we
that's
spoke
cool.
about this before.
Yeah.
And you can add in a little avatar that will jump around and show you where to go, take you on directions. So, that demo that we talked about before with, the directions to get to a Starbucks that someone had done an AR kit, one of the very first AR kit examples that were built.
Yeah.
This is now going to be launched in Google Maps.
So it's going to be standard Maps. I must say that Gail says that all the time. Like, she doesn't know which way the spotlight's turning. I've said to her, you just turn the map around. Like in the days when we had paper and we turned paper maps around. But that spotlight isn't the greatest.
Totally.
I thought you were going to Duplex because we've agreed that voice.
I'm going to go to Duplex.
Is AR.
But before we go to Duplex, I do want to make an announcement.
You're pregnant and you're going to have quadruplets. No.
I wish that. Yeah,
okay, no.
Mind. That would be all right. No.
You'd look funny pregnant, man.
I would look funny pregnant. This is a hardware announcement. There's a company called Kopin, Kopin, is launching an AR glasses for athletes called Solos. Now, it's meant for joggers, cyclists, athletes on the street, but basically it has a see-through display. It gives you basic visual cues and audio cues. It's full color. It's basically, go straight, turn left, turn right. You run this far. Here's your heartbeat, etc. Sync to wearables. Nothing super sexy, but basically it's that next generation of utility for a specific audience.
So here's a question. Can it do more than our watches can do? Just lifting up your arm and having a look at your data by the tap of a watch?
So two things. It's in your eyes if you are cycling, if you're a heavy cycler.
Okay, cycling would make a difference. Yeah. Okay. I'm just, there's so many of these cool techs. We love AR glasses. And I know that there's some really sexy tech coming out for AR glasses. But at the moment, my watch does all of that. But you're right. Cycling, I can't lift my hand up off the, what's not a steering wheel? Handlebars. At 100 k's an hour, right? Oh, I'm just having a look at my watch. Crash.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
We've spoken about some of the earbuds that have an AI assistant in it that are synced with your exercise and tell you to do things. It's that next step of visual and audio cues. How good it is, how well it works, I don't know. But it's one of those things where, yet another evolution of what's available is coming out.
This one is apparently new, but it's not. It's called Brush Monster, and it's a toothbrush with augmented reality tech to help kids learn to brush their teeth better. Now, I say it's new, but it's not. It's new. It's just come out. It grew out of Samsung's incubator. The toothbrush is available. It's $49. I'm assuming US, and it works with sensors and Bluetooth. I say it's not new because 3 years ago at Mobile World Congress, Oral-B showed off this type of toothbrush technology.
I have a Bluetooth toothbrush.
There we go. So I'm saying it's not new tech. The AR side of it makes it a bit more interesting. But here's my problem. Okay, you're encouraging taking a phone into the bathroom. Now, I'm not talking about when you're sitting down and you want to read your stuff on your phone. There's water when you clean your teeth. You're going to start brushing your teeth. The kid's looking at the phone. Little bump, little spray of water. Phone dies. I don't know if that's like the most cleverest idea.
Pick up a nice IP67 water-resistant phone and you're all right.
No, but not all phones are IP67 water-resistant phones, and there are phones out there.
True.
I like the idea of smart brushing, but maybe what it should be done is you should brush and then look at the phone afterwards to see how you did or didn't do, and then learn. So, it's just creating more dependency on kids keeping their devices. That's my only thing. It's cool, but...
Just jump back 20 years, you can get an egg timer, set the timer for 2 minutes, and say, kids, you can't leave the bathroom till it's done. I mean,
Do you remember those sweets? No, they're not sweets. Those things the dentist used to give you that you put in your mouth and it shows you all the spots of where the plaque is. I don't know if you ever saw that. It was like a red pill, and you when you went to the dentist, they put in a glass of water and you drank it like a sip, and you swish around your mouth and you spat out. And then he showed you the mirror, and there was like red everywhere. It's like, you're not cleaning properly, mate. I remember that clearly. It was horrific.
That's how.
Anyway.
So moving into tech news with a Z, I'm just going to go ahead and press play, and you're about to hear a phone call.
Okay. Well, that was actually
that wasn't it. Yep. But just have a listen to this, and then we'll tell you why it's interesting.
How may I help you?
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
4 people when? Today? Tonight?
Next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Oh, actually we reserve for after 5 people. For 4 people you can come.
How long is the wait usually to be seated?
For when, tomorrow or weekday or?
For next Wednesday, the 7th.
Oh, no, it's not too busy. You can come for 4 people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Now, why is that interesting?
Because you were showing off your phone can record someone's phone call.
No.
Because we were showing a man talking to a woman.
There's a man talking to a woman.
Tell us.
So for those of you that haven't been paying attention to the news,
Living under a rock.
Yeah, Google I/O was just this past week, and they demonstrated that the Turing test has now been passed by computers, and the male voice was a Google Assistant. So all the ahs, the quick responses, the intelligent, comprehending...
Well, the processing that he asked for 4 and she said 7, and he still worked it out. The flat out amazingness that there was no question by the woman at the restaurant that she was speaking to a robot, a machine. Yeah.
The ethical questions around being able to call and book tables or book a reservation or book a cruise ship, playing practical jokes.
I don't think you'll be able to do that. I'm going to cut you off
how
for a
could you
second.
not?
No, but here's the thing, right? The way I understand it to work is that it's your assistant. Now, whether you pick up the phone and phone Royal Caribbean and book a cruise, or your assistant does it, you're still in control. You're still instructing the system. So let's take a step back. What happened with that demo is the guy has basically picked up his phone, fired the app, and said, please book me a table at the following restaurant. And then the machine takes over and it does the rest. And you heard the phone call, and it's awesome. It will then also send you, once it's done the booking, or it's found out that it didn't need to make a booking, it'll send you a notification saying, I contacted the restaurant, and because you're less than 5 people, you don't need to make a booking, and they don't think it's a problem that time.
It's going to do one better. It's going to go straight into your Google
Calendar.
Calendar.
Put into your diary.
And
it can invite the people that you want as well.
Why could you not set up a fake account?
You could, but you could do that anyway. I don't think the technology is going to make us be more evil than we are. Remember, we used to make those phone calls. Is your fridge running? Yes. Well, you better run after it. I mean, that's like...
It's true, but the implications are that unless a computer actually says outright you're speaking to a computer, it's deceiving.
Why? What happens when Hawkins used to phone to make bookings? He was talking through a computer. Have I just crossed a line here? I don't know. Look at your face.
I don't know. I think
like there's people that can't speak. Now they can type, and the assistant can actually phone a restaurant or a hairdresser or a dog grooming parlor, whereas they can't do that. If you can't speak, you can't book anywhere unless you go online where it's type. Now they can actually get a voice. I think it's awesome.
I don't dispute. I think it's incredible. I think
I know what you're saying. And this is definitely amazing. A discussion. This is like an ethics discussion.
It's an ethics discussion.
So are you saying you should have to disclose that you're using a computer assistant?
There should be. So it's the same story of Google Assistant, Google Home, Alexa, Siri that can detect non-human or non-audible sounds that can give it directions to take action, and so you could hack a home by playing a certain sound that would actually do something or create an action. It's that same thing of, if you don't know it's happening,
I've had an aha moment. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. You can create a fake account. You can create anything, but the point is it has to be verified. There will still be a little bit of a trail back to where that assistant is registered to, albeit you can't find an owner of a Gmail address. But if it became really like insidious, then you could track the IP address or something like that. If I pick up my phone or go to a payphone and make a prank call, you can't track me. So it might actually give a little bit more validation. People might think, hold on a second, I'm getting I'm using a digital signature to initiate a call. Okay, let me ask you another question. You've also played with Amy, the virtual assistant. Remember, I used Amy XR. AR, sorry.
Amy,
did you ever have in your signature that this is a digital assistant, or because I had people phone my office and ask to speak to Amy.
Yeah,
I never disclosed it.
I had a back and forth with a friend that was working in another digital assistant in Singapore.
Yeah.
And I had about 3 emails back and forth where I was complimenting her, say thanks so much for your help.
And you didn't realize?
I had no idea. And when I realized that I had been speaking to a computer and I hadn't been speaking to a human,
did you feel dirty? Did you feel nasty?
I didn't feel. I felt mild. I felt cheated. I felt like there was something wasn't right about it.
But you're such a techie.
I should have been told or known, because if it wasn't, I would have wasted the time.
I think you were falling in love with a virtual assistant.
There was no falling in love with a virtual assistant.
They delivered roses to Amy and wedding proposals and all kinds of stuff.
Why would if I knew? I wouldn't, unless there's sentience and there's a reason to butter someone up. I would not waste my time.
But you should be nice to machines as well. That law's coming as well.
I definitely. I think you're way more abusive to your machines than mine. I'm in terrible. I'm actually like, sorry, Google. Like when I went home, I get angry. I'm like, how come you can't understand? What is wrong? They're like, oh, sorry, I didn't yell at you.
I think can we earmark that for a discussion? Maybe find someone that the ethics of digitized assistants.
I suggest we bring Shane in from Google.
It's a great idea.
And have a chat.
Done. Dude, thank goodness we don't have a guest, because we're like so at the end of time.
Oh, it's been a good moment.
It has been a good one. It's nice actually to have a little bit of a chat, you and me, for a change, without someone else like telling us awesome stuff. Actually, no. Next week, guest. So that's it then. Yeah, wrapped.
We wrapped with the tie and a bow.
Cool.
And a tie. Yes.
Nice. Well, until next time, keep your screens clean and your knobs shiny.
Thanks for listening to our latest episode of The Technology Show. Remember, for more episodes, hop onto eaglewavesradio.com.au, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Catch you next time.